country's schools have not been spared the impact of weeks of rolling blackouts. With stage 6 power cuts last week, many areas were without electricity for up to 4 hours at a time.
Well, Matakanye Matakanya from the National Association of School Governing Bodies joins us now to tell us exactly how schools have been affected. Thank you so much, Mr. Matakanya, for joining us this morning. I mean, every time we speak about the load shedding, we sometimes look at it from an economic kind of impact, the businesses that are being affected by this. But a very, very intricate part of society is being affected by this too. And that's children who are in school. Those are schools that already are limited in the resourcing and now have got the added kind of pressure of being able to function without consistent power supply. How are schools exactly affected?
Good morning, Faith. Good morning, Mutupi. And all your listeners and viewers. We are very, very, very much affected by the power cuts, particularly that Faith, that we are now living in what we call the 4IR. The tools of trade are technologically inclined. Therefore, when there is a cut, it simply means then the school has to stop. Now, you can imagine, Faith, when the school has to stop, because the school work with time. There is time to do this, there is time to do this. Then if it is cut, it means that now we have to wait. But at the end of the year, then you will get the impact when the children are not making through to the next level or to the next phase. Now, it's a big, big problem. And you must understand again that, the security also in schools, it is using technology. So it simply means if then the power has been cut, then everything stands still. Then sometimes even our children will be locked in schools. They will not be able to move out of the school. And that is now the problem that we are having. Just imagine when our children were writing exam in a dark exam room, what really happens? Then there's a question of credibility as well. Then we don't know whether Mwalusi will accept that, because children, among them, there are those who cannot really see without the light. Then there we are, children are writing, then there is a cut of electricity. Now, finally, then children have to stop. And if then the exam has started, then children have to stop. Then we have got a problem of credibility now. So it is a big problem that we are having in schools. So I think the government really must make means of saying, how do we exclude schools from the cut? If then they cannot do it, then I think then they have to roll out question of the solar, so that we really have lights, we have all these gadgets in the schools working when the power is off. So I think they must really do something serious, because the truth of the matter is that now we have the backlog of our children really dropping out of schools because of that.
Ndate Matakanya, there are those that have, to their great fortune, generators. So when ESCOM does what it does, the generators will kick in. But generators are expensive, especially if that generator must run an entire school. Some schools are large in terms of the land that they occupy. So there is so much that needs to be electrified. Therefore, the generator needs to be quite big. And that we're talking in the hundreds of thousands of rands to get that generator. Those schools that do have generators, who's paying for that generator?
No, well, you see, there are a number of schools that are capable of doing that if one has to classify them. The quintile 4, the quintile 5, they are semi-independent, then the parents are footing the bill. The quintile 1, the quintile 2 to quintile 3, those are the non-fee paying schools. So they've got nobody. Those schools have got nobody. So the schools that I've talked of, the quintile 4, the quintile, then parents are doing that. And you may find that now the parents are the ones that are paying for those generators. Now, so these no-fee schools, then they depend entirely on the government. So hence one says government must ensure that really there is a means to these schools, this quintile 1, quintile 2, quintile 3. Then they must meet that now if they cannot fix or if they cannot exclude us from the car part, then they must do something. They must just do something so that we can go to school. And for your information, Mutubi, is that these schools are the poorest of the poor schools, the township schools, the rural, the deep rural, the working class schools. Those schools are just on their own. And if government does not do anything, I must tell you, we will continuously being the underrated schools. Then you'll always really, there will never be change from those schools.
Yeah. You know, as you're speaking here about a lot of the no-fee paying schools, which, by the way, makes up a substantial amount of schools in this country, right now we're facing young people who have to be preparing themselves for examinations that are, set to start in November? Right? And now we're facing this kind of power supply. There's an expectation for children to be able to perform even under the circumstances that we have placed them under. And I'm just wondering what the long-term impact is of having these power cuts, which then, as to the point that you were making, that means that the kids now must stop learning because they don't have power in the classroom. They're limited in resources, so learning gets halted. The long-term impact on that, are we really actually turning over children within this education system that is able to cope outside of matric, able to get jobs, able to get sustainability? Because it looks as though the group and the crop of kids that we're actually getting out, they have to deal with so much. And I wonder if we're actually able to teach them. Are we teaching these kids something?
You see, the impact, Faith, is substantial. It's very, very serious. The impact is very serious because, I raised the question of the Umalusi, because Umalusi must quality assure the results. That's the long impact. We don't know whether Umalusi will just be maliciously comply. We don't know. But if Umalusi is not going to maliciously comply, it simply means that now long term, these children, those who wants to go university will go, but you must know it's malicious compliance. They are going to drop out at the university because the truth of the matter is that those are not quality education. Another thing, I think, really and truly, we are learning really, and I don't know, because these children are learning bad things, that this is how the country must go. Then we must be used to the power cuts and all those things. Whereas then these children must learn correct things so that tomorrow when they are leaders, they know that they will service the country better because they've learned from the best. But if they learn from the bad, then they are going to run the country as well badly, And this is what really this children, because the truth of the matter, if we to run the country, we must really consider schools. We must consider education very seriously so that we have the best product out of that, because these are future leaders, these are future presidents, future MECs, future ministers, future civil servants, and really what is it that they're learning? And when they leave the school at this level, what do we expect? What do we expect? Because If then there is no light, there is nothing, and all those things, these children, why should they go to school? Because they are going to do nothing at the school.